All right, welcome to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chap. Now we will have a new intro at the next podcast. Obviously, I effed up the one that I was making, so we're screwed. So we're just gonna go with the one that I created on a whim. Welcome back, Tyler. Tyler's back. I told you he'd be back. I told you I wasn't doing it all by myself, but we
Hey,
might
what's
have a
up?
special. We might have another third person that we're gonna add to the team, but that'll come at a later date. So today we're gonna be talking about just training camp. Like training camp opens. Veterans reported today, so tomorrow they will start practice. We're gonna start to learn more and more about the team. Obviously, if you're not aware, there's 4 players that are gonna begin on the injury list. So we'll get to that right now. But we're gonna get to the USA Today prediction that was absolute banana lands. We're gonna get to training camp battles, players though that could be X factors this year in training camp that could show out, all that good stuff. So if you're new, subscribe to the podcast, rate, review, follow us on all our links. It'll be good. And yeah. So
Hey, Joe, man, nice new microphone you got there. Nice little light up action.
I know, isn't it nice? So
Got the green up there. Go green, baby.
the people on YouTube are gonna see it now. I could like mute it really quickly, but if it's green, I know I'm on, so we're good to go. So 4 Detroit Lions players were placed on the injury list prior to training camp. Brian Branch is among the 4 Lions players who will be placed on the injured list. So you got Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader, and defensive back Brian Branch that are going to begin on the PUP list. Meanwhile, offensive rookie tackle Giovanni Manu has been placed on a non-football injury list. I wonder what it's pertaining to. It could be something simple. It could be something not. It could be something from college. So does any of that worry you in terms of the injuries? But I don't
No.
think it worries me. I don't think I'd be worried until I get to like the second week of preseason. Then I'll be worried.
Yeah. So with the pup list, you can take through the preseason. You can take them off at any time. So I expect that honestly because it allows us to have more bodies to be able to go through camp and to maybe possibly fight for that last 3, 4, 5 roster spots. Because I mean, for the most part, we have our roster pretty solidified.
Yep.
The Manu thing, with him being a long-term project, I think most NFL teams would, like the Lions are doing, they're going to find some reason or another to be able to put him on that list just to basically kind of redshirt him in that first year because it doesn't take up a roster spot and allows him to be around the guys, be around the camp. It allows him to do certain activities with the team. But I don't think it's anything too serious. And with him being a project and being, projected to be maybe a starter or backup in 3 to 4 seasons. I don't think that's super outrageous. Like I said, I think that's done. You can find any reason to put those guys on there, and I think that they're just kind of redshirting him that first year, and so we'll probably, see them kind of to play that, play within the confines of the rules on that a little bit. Kind of like how like in baseball, that the guys get put on and off the 40-man roster and they get put on and off IL, and so it's just playing the game. So nothing too worried about that. I think once we, like you said, once we reach that final preseason week and we're able to see, if anyone has to be put on the PUP list to start the season, I believe you can't be eligible to come off it after week 4, I think.
Yeah,
Week 4, week 6. But I think for right now, I think most teams are going to utilize these rules to their advantage. And I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think Brian Branch will be fine. I think, all of our main pieces, I don't think we're really worried about those guys missing time. So good to go.
So if a player remains, so I got this. If a player remains on the PUP list or NFI list when the regular season begins, teams have 3 options: activate them, trade, release them, or place them on the reserve PUP or NFI list. If the team chooses the final option, the player will miss a minimum of 4 games. With some veterans still to report on Tuesday, it's possible the list gets longer. Hopefully not.
Yeah, well, and a guy like Manu, like if they go and they put him on that season to start the season, for the first 4 weeks, if we lose anybody from a depth like O-line position, we can put him on the team. If not, we can kind of stuff him on the practice squad and hope that no one picks him up. So I think that they're going to try to, the first 4 weeks, obviously you don't hope any injuries, but say a backup left guard or a backup right tackle goes down, then, hey, we got a spot for him until they become healthy. So you can kind of play the injury reserve roster spot game that they usually have to play throughout the year. So
a training camp opening tomorrow. I mean, it'll, like the practice will start tomorrow. Obviously, veterans reported, rookies reported Saturday. What are you looking for in terms of this team? Because like, there's a variety of things that you can like look at and go, okay, this is what I'm looking for. I'm interested to see what you're looking for because I'm interested to see if we have the same mindset in terms of what I'm looking at.
So first off, and I know you started to warm up to the idea because I've talked about it so heavy last year, but I just want to say there's plenty of room on the JMO bandwagon for all who want to jump on. I've seen it very popular this offseason about the spotlight of JMO has grown tremendously. The outlook on him has grown tremendously. And, you know, I've been a JMO guy since day one. That's been my dude. I've always believed. And I think that he's really high on people's radars right now. And what I'm curious about, what I'm honestly looking at in this offense, because I think the offense as a whole is great, right? We have an amazing line. We got all of our cornerstone pieces locked up. We have a great receiver.
Get a little closer to the mic.
Oh, is that a little better?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Yeah. So what I'm looking at is those third string, fourth string guys. So I'm curious of what like Donovan Peoples-Jones and Antoine Green are going to do, because someone's going to have to take that wide receiver 3 role. I don't want us to necessarily go get that in a trade, but we need that in this offense. So whether it be via trade or one of these guys step up, I'm hearing Antoine Green is looking really good so far in camp. Or, you know, like the OTAs and you know, pre-training camp stuff. But then also you got strong-bodied, strong-hand Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's just only 2 years removed from a 900-yard, 65-catch season. So it's going to be interesting to see where that wide receiver 3 rolls, and that's kind of where I'm at on offense. You know, and then defense, I'm just looking to see how these guys mesh between that secondary, that new secondary. We got 4 new corners, man. So, yeah, if you want to, you know, kind of run over a little offense first, as I'm sure those are some of the areas you're kind of looking at as well. I mean, our offense is pretty stacked, dude. So that wide receiver 3 and 4 role are really the only ones that we have to kind of monitor and look at, in my opinion. Maybe backup tight end.
In segment 4, we're going to get into the top camp battles. It mentions something along your lines. So we're going to get to that. Obviously, I'm going to give my opinion right now, and then we'll transition into the next. It'll be a Detroit News article from Nolan Bianchi, and then you'll get me and Tyler's top 5 that we're kind of looking forward to this preseason. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. What I'm worried about, like, is the backup quarterback position.
That's fair.
I don't care who you are. I know I like Jared Goff. I think there's a lot of people that like Hendon Hooker. But if we got any indication during OTAs how inconsistent he looked, it's gonna be a problem. Like, I need to see Hendon Hooker really hammer down what he's doing, so we know that we could trust him going into the regular season. Because listen, you're one play away from Jared Goff being injured, and you might need this backup quarterback for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You might need him for a season. Hopefully not, but this is just the way the NFL is. I'm pretty sure Cincinnati Bengal fans weren't going, hey, this Jake Browning guy, he's going to lead us to the playoffs. Absolutely not. You know, that's the way this NFL works. Like, players get hurt, and you have to have the depth. And if anything will set this team off, it's the quarterback. I know there's a lot of people that didn't have high opinions of Jared Goff when he came here, and there's people that still don't have high opinions of him, which is asinine. But if you're one of those people, this is a big preseason for Hendon Hooker, and it's honestly something that, like, if you're looking at like from a really, really realistic view, if he goes in the preseason, he looks bad. Do you think about getting a backup quarterback?
Well, then it turns into a wasted 3rd-round pick, and I think so many people are high on him, and they seen him as the future or the potential QB1, which I don't agree with. Neither of us have agreed with since day one. But, you know, like last year, man, it did give me peace of mind knowing we had Teddy Bridgewater back there.
Right.
Because, you know, at multiple times he could step in, you know, multiple times in his career, step in, win you 2, 3, 4 games. I mean, I think when he stepped in the Saints, he went, 6-2? In 8 games with the Saints, you know, in relief. So, you know, it is hard to find a guy that, you know, you can rely on to win you 2, 3, 4 games like that. But, you know, we're really going to see what Hendon Hooker's made of. I hope he's the guy as the backup quarterback, because now I don't want there to be any QB battles or like, is he the new QB1 talk? Because that's just not it. We just gave Jared Goff a huge deal. Team loves him. City loves him. You know, front office loves him. So, But now it's like, if Hendon Hooker becomes a really solid QB2 and we can trust him to be that for the next 4 seasons while he's here on his rookie deal, I'm okay with that. But like, that's a big if, and I really hope that he's able to take that next step, because he is an older guy when it comes to being like a young quarterback, right? So like, he was
Yeah.
drafted last year at what, 26?
Yeah.
So I mean, we're gonna, time will tell, but I mean, to have that position solidified, if he does have a really good preseason, would be great for our team, because that would mean we, for his rookie deal, at least for the next 4 years, we have somebody that we know can come in and step in and play well. And we just need someone not to screw up. You just need a high level game manager as a backup. You don't need a guy to come in and try to be the hero. You just need someone to come in and just hold the waters until Jared Goff can come back.
And I said it before, like I like Hendon Hooker as a quarterback. I loved him at Tennessee. Obviously, being a Tennessee fan, he was great because Tennessee doesn't have really good quarterbacks late. As a before, I think Peyton Manning, and then you had Josh Dobbs, and then you had Hendon Hooker. Now you got Nico. I mean, that's not much, to be honest, if you're looking at college football standards. But honestly, like, I like Hendon Hooker. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he could be a good backup quarterback. I don't think he could be potentially a starter. I think if he was to become a starter, it'd be kind of like a Derek Carr, something
And if
along.
he is a starter, you don't want Hendon Hooker to be your QB1 right now on a team that has a championship window.
Right. And what I worry about, though, is with Hendon Hooker is he's essentially going into his rookie year. Like, if you think about it, like, this is his first training camp. This will be his first preseason reps. I mean, I don't think he got much practice reps in late in the season last year when he was activated. So this is his first like shot. And look, Nate Sudfeld's behind him. I'm not really a huge fan of Sudfeld. I don't know about a lot of people, but I'm not like the biggest fan. You just, but like, if you look at the depth chart, like Jared Goff, Hendon Hooker, and Nate Sudfeld. So one of these guys is going to have to show up, and we're gonna have to have that backup that you could be like comfortable in coming in if Jared Goff was to get injured. And that's where I kind of stand, and that's one of my biggest things I'm looking at this training camp is what do they say about Hendon Hooker? Is he doing good? Is he not doing good? Is he struggling? Is he inconsistent? Those are things I'm going to be looking at, and I think that's probably one of the most important things that we could look at with this Lions team. All right, so we're gonna go into the next article, which is simply it's by Nolan Bianchi. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Let me pull it up. So he has 5 potential X factors to watch for the Lions training camp preview. I'm gonna pull the graphic up, but this is his 5. He has Jameson Williams, Jack Campbell, Fatu Melifonwu, Josh Pascal, and Sione Vaki. We can read what he says. If you want to, uh, Tyler, but like out of that list, just what I'd mentioned right there, what player are you really interested in training camp?
Honestly, this is a really good top 5 X Factor list. I don't know if necessarily Jack Campbell would be a pick for me, just because I am expecting good things out of Jack Campbell. I don't know if it's, I
Right.
mean, yeah, I guess it's an X Factor in a way, but I'm expecting him to take that big leap. So it's not total X Factor on me in terms of that. I guess I'm looking at more of like surprise candidates and someone who's small to make. I am curious about Josh Pascal. I know me and you have talked about him in great lengths the last 3 years, about, his potential and where he kind of fits on that defensive line with his versatility. And I also was going to bring up later, when we talk about some of our position battles, talk about Vaki and how that like running back 3 situation really ends up shaping up, because that's a guy who's just a straight up football player, man, with the new special teams rules, with the new kickoff rules implemented, and then just the way he kind of plays football and is just a straight up football player, man. He's a dog. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that, and I think those little things, as you look at championship caliber teams, those little things are the things that you start to notice, like defensive line depth, running back depth, obviously receiver depth. Like there's we've got our cornerstones. We don't have to search for those anymore. Now we're looking for those complementary key depth pieces that can really take us over the hump. So I don't mind the list at all. And like I said, a couple that I would take away from that would really probably be more like Josh Pascal and Bucky. So that's kind of where I would see with
Yeah,
those could be potential X factors.
I agree with you as well. You know, I like Pascal. I think that this is a year that if Pascal is going to get going, this is the year that he's going to do it. Um, Obviously, with the Lions getting Terrell Williams, the defensive line coach, that was a game changer. Honestly, it was. I know Titans fans. I'm in some of their groups because I do follow the Titans because they're my Southern team, but they were pissed off that they lost Terrell Williams because of what Terrell Williams did for Jeffrey Simmons, what he did for Kyle Pecco, what he did for Harold Landry, Bud Dupree, all the guys. Like they had a good pass rush while they didn't have a really good secondary. Their secondary was total ass. They had a good pass rush. And I look at this Detroit Lions team and I look at the defensive end and I go, okay, who's on the opposite side of Hutch? Who's gonna stake that claim? Number one. Who's gonna stake that claim? Is it gonna be Davenport, who can't stay healthy? Is it gonna be James Houston, who is a little bit of a tweener? Is it gonna be Matthew Betts, who is a kind of like a unknown? Or is it gonna be Josh Pascal, who was a second round pick, and you drafted him to be a guy that you could rely on? Because honestly, I don't need a guy on the opposite side of Hutch that's going to be like otherworldly. All I need him to be is average. If he's average, we're going to be fine. Because if you look at the defensive tackle, like the room in the defensive tackle, this is a loaded room too. You got DJ Reader, Broderick Martin, Makai Wingo, who could also play edge. That's an X factor that people are kind of missing. Uh, Eli McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike, who this is a make or break for Onwuzurike if we're going to be totally honest with each other. Chris Smith, Kyle Pecco. So you look at this defensive line room, defensive tackle is really leading the charge. I think defensive tackle is going to be a strong point in this front seven. If you think about it, like from a pragmatic standpoint, Lee McNeil was electric last year. Having a guy like DJ Reader on his side is going to help him out. Uh, DJ Reader being on the opposite side of Hutch and Aleem, you assume Liam's going to be on the same side as Hutch, and then DJ Reader will be on the opposite side. That's going to open up plays for whoever the defensive end that stakes their claim. So this is a defense that's got a lot better. I saw Warren Sharp. He does a lot of analytics, whatever. He thinks Detroit's like one of the top defensive top front sevens. I'm trying to remember what it was, but that's what it was. So he thinks they're the top five front seven. So look, Josh Pascal is going to need to come out. He does. Nolan does say this about Pascal. He says Pascal's injury history caused him to get a slow start in the Lions' career, but toward the end of the season and before he just at the beginning of the year, Pascal showed flashes of why the Lions drafted him with a second round pick in 2022. After his 2 seasons, there's some belief that Pascal has a better chance of making contributions inside, but he was drafted as an edge rusher, and that is in fact where he played a majority of the snaps last season. With edge Marcus Davenport and defensive tackle DJ Reader both starting training camp on the injury list, Pascal will have plenty of opportunity to show what he could do along the offensive line. It also doesn't hurt that this offseason hired one of the many to believe one of the best defensive line coaches in the NFL in Terrell Williams. That's what I'm saying. They got it. They got a good guy, and Terrell Williams is really gonna. If Josh Pascal can't get it now, he never gets it. If Levi Onwuzurike can't get it with Terrell Williams, he'll never get it. That's the way it's gonna go. So that's my opinion. And Sione Vaki, it's an interesting dynamic that they have here because of his ability to play running back, because of his ability to play receiver, because of his ability to play safety. This is a total wild card in terms of roster management. Like this guy can take a spot of a safety, and then you can keep another position that you really think that you're strong in. He can play receiver, so you could use him as a receiver. He can play running back. I'm already seeing people penciling him into the running back room, and if you look at the running back room, this is interesting, Tyler, because if you look at this running back room, it is stacked. I mean, obviously you got Dave Montgomery, you got Jahmyr Gibbs that are going to be your 1-2. Fine. You're probably only going to keep 4 running backs. So you got Craig Reynolds, Donovan Knight, and Jamar Jefferson and Jake Funk that are going to battle it out for the last spot. Obviously, Craig Reynolds could get the inside nod. Zonovan Knight has some ability too. I think Jake Funk and Jamar Jefferson are a little bit outside of this, but this is another area that you have that has a lot of depth. So that's what I see, and I like Nolan's list a lot. I think that he really nailed it with the Pascal, the Melifonwu, the Campbell, and the Jameson Williams. I think Jameson Williams, this is going to be a great training camp for him because he's
Yeah.
finally going to get to show out.
No, absolutely. And what that does too is it shows, you know, what we're kind of trying to accomplish, especially like Iffy, because the first couple of years, Iffy didn't really contribute. But like, did he necessarily have a chance to contribute? You know, he was buried in the depth chart. He was going between corner and safety. He never
Yep.
really had a great like foundation, whether that be coaching or scheme, or it just seemed like he was kind of a misfit toy.
Yep.
And you know, we all of a sudden we seen him last year get some reps at safety and the right scheme and where Aaron Glenn was starting to figure it out, and the guy just absolutely balled out. So it's like if you can get, I'll even say a half a season of the Iffy we saw last year, I mean, that's great. You know, that's great for our secondary. That's great for our versatility. That's great for our team because what it does is it kind of gives us that mix between, say, like a Tracy Walker and a Kirby Joseph. You know, he's got some hard hitting, but he also has a little bit of that ball hawking ability and just, you know, the ability to find the ball. And so, like, losing a guy like Tracy, well, and I think that hurts a little less because Tracy got hurt and we kind of saw him get diminished from the defense. So, but the initial idea at first was like, oh my gosh, we got to, you know, we got to re-sign Tracy. We got to re-sign Tracy. We need that, you know, hard hitting, you know, run stopping safety. So the fact that Iffy is kind of turned into this little bit of a hybrid, a little bit of both, and he's able to come in there and actually contribute, you know, then you're talking about Iffy and Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph and, you know, and player to be named, you know, rotating in that secondary. And then all of a sudden now, you know, now you're cooking with gas and now you have something that you can kind of like balance your defense with. So, especially with all these new guys at corner, I mean, you need these guys to be able to be the quarterback and be the captain of your secondary. So, you know, that'll be really big for us. And then, you know, guys like Carlton Davis being, you know, pretty much the only vet on that cornerback room, him having that communication with our safeties in that defensive backfield is going to be huge, especially for those new guys, those rookies coming in and trying to learn. So it'll be interesting, man. But you need strong play from your safeties. And like I said, I think we're seeing Iffy be what we thought and hoped he would be when he got drafted. And I just hope that he keeps it up and he's able to kind of sustain that play.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I mean, we're gonna get into our top five. Let you go first, but I think you're right. I do think that like this list that Nolan has is pretty well put together. I think that you can make the case for other players, which I assume we will. Potential X factors in training camp. But I look at this list and I go, it's a make or break it year for Pascal. It's another year for Fatu Melifonwu to show off. Where's Jack Campbell in his development as a linebacker? Is he better in the pass coverage? And then I look at JMO and I go, okay, I saw what I needed to see late in the playoffs, late in the year, when you finally got some chemistry with Jared Goff. What I really want to see is I want to see you become the full spectrum of what we expect Jameson Williams to be. Because I think if he becomes what we think he can be, me and you've talked about it before, it unlocks the offense. Now you got JMO. I mean, you got JMO running down the field. You got Laporta going up the middle. You got St. Brown going up the middle. Like you got Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of the backfield. Dave Montgomery coming out of the backfield. Like this, it opens up so many avenues for the team. So JMO being good is going to help us, help the Lions. And then if JMO is something that me and you kind of expect, we're going to be in a really good situation.
Definitely.
All right, so give me your top five.
Yeah, so I would say, honestly, one of the big X factors for me this season, going into training camp, is actually going to be James Houston. So the reason that being, I mean, we've got a guy coming off, his rookie year 2 years ago, he had 9 sacks in 7 games.
Yeah.
7 sacks in 8 games, something similar to that. And so he was a huge part of that, that pass rush defense that we had during his rookie year. So then he comes back the next year. He's hurt. He doesn't really see the field. He doesn't really get into his groove and find his rhythm. We were all hoping he was kind of going to be that next great, like not great, but at least the next serviceable, solid pass rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, and kind of be that pass rush specialist. So I think if he were to take another step forward in his development and return to what he did that rookie season, that would be a huge boost for this defense. So James Houston's up there in my top 5. And then I have 2 and 3 is actually going to be in the same position, and that's going to be Antoine Green and Donovan Peoples-Jones. And I know we're going to talk about some of our position battles, and they'll be a big part of that discussion with our receiver groups. But those 2 guys, and I'll do a slash on those, because whoever ends up being that guy, that number 3 guy, I think that's going to be very important to this offense, because last year JMO was that kind of number 3 guy, and so if JMO goes into that number 2 role and gets a lot more of the target share, we're going to need a really solid guy on the outside that can come in and kind of make plays, maybe similar to like how we utilize DJ Chark, or some guys that we've had like that in the past that we can kind of come in there, or Anquan Bolden. I mean, I know it was a little bit later years, but just a guy that can get on the outside, make some catches, and get some stuff going. I mean, this list is deep, but really, I mean, there's a lot of names on here that aren't going to do very much anything. So, I mean, you're looking at least for 4 guys on this list to be able to contribute in some fashion.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Raymond's going to get his deep shots. He's got some chemistry with Goff. And then, like I said, it's going to be between Green and Jones on that wide receiver list of who's going to be able to come in and make a difference maker. And like we both said before, we liked Antoine Green on draft night, and I think people sleep on him a bit. So it'll be fun to talk about that a little bit later when it comes to position battles. So that was my number 2. Number 3 for me is, and this is not going to be preseason. This is going to be going into the regular season.
Oh, we lost Tyler. All right, so here's the thing. We were going into his top 5. We lost him because of the storm, I imagine. But Tyler's top 5 so far is James Houston, Antoine Green, and I imagine it's going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'll give you my top 5 on the whim, because I think obviously losing Tyler is not ideal, but we're going to manage. So my number 1 guy is Hendon Hooker. I could say this without a doubt. Hendon Hooker is the guy I'm going to be watching here. I just told you earlier in the podcast, like, this is going to be something that I'm going to be watching the whole preseason. Like, can Hendon Hooker become the backup quarterback that we need in Detroit? You don't want Jared Goff to get hurt, but this is the NFL. Sometimes in the NFL, you deal with some things that aren't really ideal. So that's what I look at with Hendon Hooker. When you look at this team, like, I look at wide receiver, and this is another position that is going to be interesting to watch. I know Tyler was in the midst of talking about wide receiver, but I'm going to talk about wide receiver right now. I think Isaiah Williams has a good shot to make the roster. I would say he's going to be pretty well. He's got the explosiveness to make the roster. The interesting name to watch out for, because of his kick returning ability, because of the kick return factor, is Maurice Alexander. We've seen him in preseason before. He was just excellent in his kick returning abilities. So that's what I look at with number 2. I think that's a potential X factor that I think a lot of people are not going to. They're going to gloss over, and they're going to be like, "Why Maurice Alexander?" Because of his kick returning abilities. The next one is simple. Who is going to be the opposite side of Hutch? Is it going to be Marcus Davenport, who has an injury history? Will it be James Houston? Will it be Josh Pascal? Someone's got to separate themselves. Hutch can't do it all. And luckily for them, whoever is the opposite side of Hutch, they're going to get the ability to play next to DJ Reader. And with them playing next to DJ Reader, That will be a huge thing. We look at this defensive end room and we go Davenport, Kaminsky, Hutchinson, Pascal, Houston, Betts. But if you add one more in there, Wingo, who potentially could play defensive end, that's what you get yourself into. Hutch was ranked in sixth best defensive end by in NFL by the scouts, and it was an ESPN article. Obviously, getting a guy next to Hutch who can really separate themselves would be huge, and I think that's what we're all looking for. So my next one is going to be the opposite side of Hutch. My next one is interesting because, look, I think when you think about this Detroit Lions team in conjunction with whatever the case may be, we talk about Jameson Williams. We talk about all the wide receivers like St. Brown and everything like that. I want to enter an X factor who could potentially be a guy who makes the roster. Campbell knows him very, very much in New Orleans, and that's Traquan Smith. Oh, Tyler's back.
Yo, I lost power.
You lost power. I knew
Yes.
I knew something happened.
Dude, I was using my girlfriend's laptop, and I was all hardwired, like you said, to get everything working right. And yeah, I was like in the middle of talking, and like the basement just went completely black.
Oh, so now we're doing a car cast. This is great. So the bad weather just came out of nowhere, but I knew it was going to come for you because I looked at the radar. But this is what we're in. Like, okay, so when you left, I said the three players that I'm watching so far are Hendon Hooker, Maurice Alexander. We talked about Hendon Hooker, but why I think that's important. Maurice Alexander, because of his kick returning abilities, that could be a potential X factor for this preseason and training camp. Like, whether people like it or not, there's going to be a guy that makes the roster who is just good on kick returns because of the new kick return rules. That's going to be crucial. I know. Did you have Donovan Peoples-Jones as your third?
So as a second, it was a slash. It was Antoine Green, Donovan Peoples-Jones. My third, actually, before I cut out, was DJ Reader.
Okay.
Just a man-eating big boy in the middle, dude. I think that's going to open up a ton for Aleem McNeil. And it's not like a preseason watch. This is more of like a regular season watch.
Yeah.
But like Aleem was top 10 last year in PFF for D tackles. And so getting a guy that can like take some of those body. Aleem's not a body eater.
No.
Like, you know,
he's more of a speed guy.
Yeah, you know, so having a body eater like that, like similar to like I said before in one of the pods, like similarly to when we traded for Snacks Harrison, but Reader is a few years, 3 or 4 years younger than Snacks was at the time, but huge dominant impact to the rest of our line. Like it's not going to be something where DJ Reader's going to come in and go crazy, but the fact that his big ass is there, it's going to make other guys more available to get to the quarterback.
Well, what I said is my third reason. It's the opposite side of Hutch, and my reason kind of aligns with you. Okay, it doesn't seem like it aligns with you, but because DJ Reader is in the middle, and because his ass is so big, and he's going to take up blocks, the person who's on the opposite side of Hutch, whoever that may be through the training camp, is going to be vastly important. Like that, I don't care. Like we said it before, I don't need him. I don't need them to be elite. I just need them to be average. If they're average, that's good. Last year we didn't get average. We got below average. And I look at this team and I go, I know they think highly of Pascal. There's people that think Wingo could potentially play defensive end as well. That'll be interesting. But that's what I got. So what's your number 4?
Yeah, I mean, my number 4, I honestly would have to say that one's a tough one. I mean, for me, I would probably have to say Carlton Davis. And just because coming from a defense that didn't necessarily utilize him properly the last year or two, with us needing a CB1 while we got Terry and Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw to grow, I think that CB1 role where Carlton Davis, that what basically we need him to be what we thought Cam Sutton was going to be.
Yep.
Really serviceable, really reliable, really dependable, a good, decent cornerback. Like, I don't want anyone to put too crazy expectations on him. I don't necessarily need Carlton Davis. I mean, it'd be fantastic, but I'm not asking Carlton Davis to be a top 5 or a top 10 corner in the league. I need this guy to be serviceable and not be Will Harris.
That's I think you're gonna be fine with Carlton Davis. I think him being in a role that kind of suits him well, that's gonna be fine for him. Um, I'm gonna go similar to you again. It's kind of weird, but I'm gonna go similar to you. I want to see what Amik Robertson could do.
I like that too. I
I
think
lo-
just position group as a whole at corner, we need to see something. And
well,
honestly, how much of it is like leadership too? Like if Amik Robertson and Carlton Davis can come in and like properly mentor and lead, I don't want Terry and Arnold to have to be Okuda 2.0. I don't want that for him. You know,
but
we saw how that happened. We saw how that ended. It wasn't good.
if you can get good play out of Amik Robertson, Carlton Davis, and then you could usher the young kids along slowly, I think that's good for their development. So I do like that. Obviously, Brian Branch can play the cornerback position too, so that helps you out. I mean, Brian Branch could do it all. I think if you go into Pro Football Focus, he played some in the linebacker spot, some in the slot, some in the corner, some in the safety. Guy does it all. But I think Amik Robertson, if he could be just because I watched him in Vegas, and I think that he had an interesting kind of he's kind of like a bulldog. He reminds me of a better Nevin Lawson. And I know that doesn't really make people happy, but you need guys like that will rough it up on the outside, and he can jump the ball pretty well. So I like that about Meek Robertson.
Definitely.
All right, who's
Yeah.
number 5?
Yeah. And then 5 for me. Honestly, I'm kind of looking for someone to be like a good depth piece for that linebacker room. I'm going to say Derek Barnes.
Okay.
We saw some glimpses last year of Derek Barnes, how well he played, and obviously some whiffs. Everyone was really jumping his ass for like missing Dak Prescott and letting CD Lamb rip us for a 95-yard touchdown. Look, man, it happens, right? You're not gonna make every tackle. Overall, he played well. He played decent, but if we can get some production out of that fourth linebacker, like I said earlier, when you get depth to perform at a higher level, it's going to allow your team to elevate. So, like, obviously, everyone's looking at Jack Campbell to take that next step. Everyone's expecting Alex Anzalone to continue to have, a positive impact on the team and kind of be our anchor of that linebacking core. But I need a guy, and I don't know if on the other end of that, too far down the depth chart, I don't know how much I necessarily expect out of a guy like, say, Malcolm Rodriguez, a former 6th-round pick who is kind of going to be a lifelong contributor, but I don't think he's going to, flash into some sort of Pro Bowler. No shade to him. It's just not, I just don't think that's necessarily his career path. So I think a guy like Derek Barnes, who is that kind of developmental prospect, if you can get some really solid play out of him and maybe hopefully extend him on a cheap deal, I think it's going to be pretty important for this defense. So that's where I'm going to go with number 5.
All right, that's perfect. I do like that as well. I'm gonna go Jack Campbell, just because I need to see him be better in pass coverage. I think if he becomes better in pass coverage, he's going to be an elite linebacker in this league. There were some glimpses, some signs that he was doing good in terms of reading the play, making the right plays, doing what he needs to be done. I like what Nolan Bianchi said in the article. He says it wasn't easy for Campbell to see the field after being a first-round pick a year ago, but that necessarily wasn't a knock on his game. Off-ball linebacker is arguably the most difficult position to adjust to when going from college to the pros. The Lions were getting quality play from Alex Anzalone and Derek Barnes, but linebackers coach Calvin Shepard was adamant that Campbell is a man possessed entering year 2, showing massive improvements as a leader of the defense through the offseason program. Like Williams, it's obvious what Campbell's size and athleticism can provide to the unit. And the mental side coming along, it's hard not to be intrigued by what he's able to show in camp. That's kind of where I'm going. If he could just be good, this could if he could be an elite player, that changes the defense dynamic by far.
Oh, can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, no, that's a great point. I do like that. And I think it's funny because a lot of our ideologies, they do align with each other in terms of position group, because we're looking at defensive line and like defensive line depth. We're looking at receiver depth. We're looking at, linebacker and corner depth. So, I mean, obviously it's easy to say like, oh, we're aligned on that because, there's a lot of different groups you're covering there. But I think we can agree we're solid on quarterback. Well, I know one of yours was backup quarterback, which is obviously
Yep.
very important. Running back room looks great. Obviously, having Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta, 2 of the top 5 players in their respective positions, it's going to help a lot. So now it's just those little things, those little pieces. I mean, bro, I saw a picture the other day, and our starting offense for like opening day was like when Jared Goff first got here. It was like Jared Goff, Brashad Perriman, like Tyrell Williams, Hawkinson, and then the running back would have been
Swift.
Yeah. And I'm looking at that going, oh man, we have come a long way. I mean, so many times before we could say, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. I mean, shit, you just throw a dart at the board and we need it. There's so many holes, but developing these players. Brad Holmes has obviously done a fantastic job through the draft. He hasn't forced anything by taking on disgruntled diva superstars or taking on bad contracts or overpaying for these guys. Look, man, I've been kind of high on maybe bringing in a guy, but hey, we've been doing it the right way. We've been building it the right way. So, we've turned ourselves into a perennial winner. But it's just crazy to think about how now we're just filling up those depth pieces. We're filling up these just in case pieces, and now our drafts. Not to get too far into draft talk, but now our drafts every year are going to be more of like, okay, well, how do we replace a guy that we just maybe?
Yeah, you're looking for depth. That's what good organization.
A guy we're not able to replace. What if at some point you're not going to be able to pay all your guys?
Well,
so how can we
exactly.
Keep the machine going?
Again, we know that's going to happen, and that's all right. I mean, it's like it's the correlation of being a good football team. Like there's going to be guys that you can't pay, and we know that's going to happen. So just how do you get guys that are going to be useful pieces? That's what I look at.
We're no longer looking at getting things that are glaring holes. We're more like, how do we just make the next guy that much better in that position group?
You're just looking to do patchwork. Like honestly, you take it like the Eagles do. Like they just draft guys that kind of like they fit and they fit the mold and what they want out of a player, and maybe they're a need that they need in the future. I mean, that's the way you do it, and that's the way this is gonna go. But I wanted to get to this wonky ass
remember when I'm gonna let you pull that up. I was gonna say when it comes to not all these things that I just saw something not too long ago. Not all these things always end up working. Remember when everybody was like, we need Hassan Reddick. Now he's like holding out with the Jets and saying he's not gonna play another snap with them.
Yeah, we're gonna get that. We're gonna get that in a few, but we'll get to that in the last segment. It's gonna be a if or at this. Okay, so according to USA Today, Nate Davis, the Lions will finish with an 11-6 record, which is one.
Oh my God, I seen that.
Which is one win shy of what they had in 2023. He said we actually predicted Detroit would win 11 games, but we also had them winning division. However, Davis doesn't see things shaking out like that, as he has the Green Bay Packers going and winning 13 games to finish in first place. Here's what he said about the Lions. He said, Detroit Lions, like the Pack, their Lombardi bid last season came short in a playoff loss at San Francisco. However, outside expectations will match what Dan Campbell has determined internally from his team the past 4 years. The rest of the division, the Lions just won for the first time, is also fast improvement. A pathway to the first Super Bowl berth in franchise history likely requires a strong start. No shit, Sherlock. As the Lions play just 2 home games over an 8-week period from October to November, but it could happen if a young core continues to blossom. Wide receiver James Williams needs to step up and reaps results from an upgraded pass defense. He said this about the Packers. He says, what a dazzling statement Jordan Love made in his first year in a post-Rodgers starter, driving what was the league's youngest roster in 2023 to the verge of an NFC championship game appearance, which they didn't do. So just cut the shit, Nate. This talent teaming nucleus should continue to ascend, especially if it enjoys the expected boost from their new set of rookies and free agent additions like running back Josh Jacobs, who is one of the worst yards per carry last year, yards after contact. Xavier McKinney, who's a good safety. But the real delta here could be occur with the defensive coordinator Jeff Hatley, who is shifting the scheme and shifting the fortunes of a bunch that's underachieved despite being armed with 7 first-round picks. Fresh rings in Titletown could be. This guy literally predicted the Jets and the Packers to be in the Super Bowl. That's what he predicted. And look, I I love. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's like. I just love how he gives credit to what the Packers did in free agency, but he doesn't give credit to what the Lions did in free agency. Like, do you understand that? Like that's just it's a bad look for a journalist who is making predictions. Like, did you actually do the homework and see that they added DJ Reader, they added Carlton Davis, they added Amik Robertson, they added Kevin Zeitler? Like, this is what this guy is missing. And this guy, Nate Davis, I really don't even think he did the homework, because if he did the homework, he would know that like the Lions are getting one of the best pass blocking guards in the league. They're getting one of the top defensive tackles in the league when he's healthy, in DJ Reader, paired with Lee McNeil. You get Carlton Davis, who is better in man coverage. He's going to be playing in that kind of thing. And I just love he mentions Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs' yards after contact was the worst in the NFL next to DeAndre Swift. So am I really going to be concerned? Am I really going to be like, oh, this guy, Josh Jacobs, he's going to go back to what he was? No, I judge a running back on yards after contact, because I think it's so crucial for a running back to get yards after contact. I would be more scared if the Packers still had Aaron Jones, who was one of the best yards after contact guys, who's in Minnesota. But instead they went with Josh Jacobs, who has shown he didn't get good yards after contact. I know he played with Vegas, but Vegas wasn't like this horrible run blocking team. It's a total joke. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I will play devil's advocate a bit to say it's not unrealistic for the Packers to win 10 games or 11 games, but I don't think they win 13, and they certainly don't win more than the Lions. And that's me really trying to be unbiased. I mean, obviously it's going to sound, you're going to say, yeah, right, you're doing a Lions podcast, you're a Lions fan, but seriously, top to bottom, like Jordan Love is a good up and coming quarterback. He did a lot with a little. I will give him that. And I will give them their kudos to say they could win 10 games. They could. But to say that top to bottom, that Packers roster is anywhere near the Lions roster is an absolute joke.
I do like the roster.
Yeah,
I do like the roster.
But if you compare it to the Lions roster, especially offense alone, I mean, we pretty much blow them out of the water in most positions.
No, I totally understand. Defensively, I think they have some talent back there. But once again, I think it's kind of like you're anointing Jordan Love for what?
Exactly.
He had 6-7 good games. I need to see more. Is that so much to ask? Like, people anointing Jordan Love as this guy who's going to be an elite quarterback. We don't know. How many times have we seen a quarterback go out there, have 6-7 good games, play his ass off, and people are like, oh my God, this guy is the next thing. And then he goes into next season and he blows ass. That's just the way it goes. That's the NFL. And they're going to find out tendencies that this guy has. They're going to find out what he looks for when he's looking, going back to pass. Those are things that they're going to look at. What did he succeed with, and what did he succeed doing? Like, that's what these defensive coordinators are going to do.
I mean, the Packers are coming. They're in a little bit of a mini, like, post-Rodgers rebuild kind of deal, right? They kind of got lucky again with potentially their third great quarterback in a row. That's to be seen. But like I said, I'll even play devil's advocate and say, hey, I would not be surprised. I could see the Packers winning anywhere from 9, from, let's say, a ceiling 10 or 11 wins, a floor probably 6 or 7. They're going to be a decent team. But to act like that roster and that team is a 13-win, Super Bowl reaching, like, perennial contender team is absolutely a joke. Like, no way, man. No way. I'm sorry. And I've got friends, and I've got friends that are Packers fans. I got friends that do Packers media. Like I said, I will give you the benefit of the doubt and say this team could reach the playoffs again as a wild card, and they could win 10 or 11 games, maybe. But there's no way this is set up for some sort of, Packers, Jets, Rodgers, knob slobbing Super Bowl fan favorite deal. This is not going to happen, dude. It's just, I'm sorry. But they've got a way to go. I do think they have a promising young roster. I do think they have a lot of good pieces. But for the time being, at least for the next 3 seasons, at least, this is the Lions division to lose. And I think we're going to see multiple division titles. And I think we're going to see us have a really nice, sustained, future and be able to have success over these next 3 to 5 seasons.
Here's where I will say. I'll say the Packers are going to be damn good, okay? They're going to be good. They're going to be the challenger for the Lions. I don't believe the Bears are going to be that challenger. I honestly don't have high hopes for Caleb Williams. I don't know.
People are on that guy's hang downs, bro. They love Caleb Williams, man.
Well, okay. I told you all about Hendon Hooker. I told you all about Trevor Lawrence. I told you all about a variety of quarterbacks. Now I've been wrong a lot.
Side note, can we say why the hell did the Jaguars give Trevor Lawrence that bag? That was nuts, dude.
Well, you know, he's a decent quarterback, so they had to keep him. But it's the Jaguars. Like that, I don't get it. I don't understand it. But whatever the case may be, I look at Caleb Williams and I go, man, if you're a defensive coordinator and you're watching that USC tape, throw the Notre Dame game up, throw the Utah game up, throw when he played Oregon up, and see what they did to him to make him just look like an average quarterback. When he played these teams that played a physical style defense like Utah, like Notre Dame, like Oregon, struggled big time. When he played these teams that have no defense, like Colorado, like, oh, of course he looks good. Oh, well, they play Fresno State. Of course he looks good. But I'm telling you right now, I get the sense from Caleb Williams that when he gets in trouble, he likes to throw the ball into trouble. And I think that's a bad recipe for a quarterback that's coming out of college. Honestly, if we're being totally facetious right now, talking about which quarterback I think could be potentially a stud, it's JJ McCarthy. I don't know what to expect out of JJ McCarthy. I know he's got talent.
Be great or he's going to be ass. I feel like it's going to be an extreme one way or the other.
I know he's got talent, but throwing to Justin Jefferson is a cheat code. Okay, so having that guy is going to help you out a lot. Just like Caleb Williams having Keenan Allen and Roman Dunze, that's going to help him out a lot. DJ Moore, yeah, DJ Moore is a stud too. But I just look at this division. It's a tough division. It's going to be like the AFC North for the next couple of years. Some team's going to win this division at like 9-8 eventually, maybe next year, maybe the year after. But I look at all these teams and they're getting better and better and better. And I look at the Vikings, even though they lost Kirk Cousins, their defense is a lot better. They got Brian Flores, who's a hell of a defensive coordinator. Jefferson's back. I know Sam Darnold's going to start, but I think JJ McCarthy will be starting by the time the Lions play them. That's what I think. But it's just interesting the way you put it.
It really is. It is interesting. And I think a lot of the teams that we were competing against, we didn't lose anybody, bro. Like, we lost peanuts, dude. We didn't lose anybody important. We lost Tracy Walker. We lost, Cam Sutton. Oh boy,
Jonah Jackson.
Wow. We lost guy, but we replaced Jonah Jackson with a top 5 guard.
Yep.
We replaced Tracy with someone on the depth chart that has been fighting for a spot in Iffy and kind of elevated our spot. And then we replaced our corners with 4 new ones. And so, in terms of us, we didn't lose a lot, but teams like, the Niners, who potentially are not going to be returning Brandon Ayuk.
Well, he'll be returning, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But
and other teams that maybe lost these big key pieces, like the facts that we build our culture up here enough to where guys aren't bitching and crying and leaving and forcing their way out via trade and going places for more money. Like, we're building something special.
I hate to cut you off, but it's just it's just like what happened just now. CeeDee Lamb's not reporting to training camp for the Dallas Cowboys. So here's what you got. Obviously, we know that Brett Holmes has done an amazing job at paying his players, saying, I'm going to pay you right now. We're get it figured out. But I give Brett Holmes the utmost credit that he got it done before training camp, because having these issues, they do weigh on a team.
Well, look what the Vikings just gave Darisaw, bro. Like, we're looking like we got Sewell at a steal.
And we got it for 2 years more, which obviously, if you think about it, like, Sewell's a younger guy. And Sewell is going to eventually play left tackle. That's what the plan is. But you look at it like Darisaw got 23.8. If you look at AAV, and I think if you look at AAV, I think Sewell was at like 23.1. So you're getting a better tackle for longer. Now, if you prorate it to 4 years, it's a lot more than Darisaw. But still, you're going to have him for a while. So that's what it comes down to. And that's where I just don't believe these people when they say, like, I look at this USA Today article and I'm just like, okay, you say the Packers got better with these key additions, but what about the key additions that the Lions had? Like, those are key additions. DJ Reader is a key addition. Carlton Davis, key addition. Kevin Zeitler, key addition. You add him instead of Jonah Jackson, and if we talked about it on the podcast last year, Jonah Jackson was an issue in the pass game. 25% of the pass pressure came from Jonah Jackson. Now, eventually, with Decker playing hurt, it ended up going where Decker was at like 33%, but he was playing with a broken foot, I believe, and that just doesn't matter. So you kind of expect that. But you got anything to add with this one?
Not really a whole lot, just basically that, it's going to be a different training camp this time around. We're going to be looking at sharpening up the depth and back end of this team. We're not necessarily looking for someone to shine at a training camp and be our savior, because we've got all our cornerstone pieces. We need to stay healthy, and we need to make sure that our depth is getting shored up on the back end. And we're gonna run it back, man, and try to hit get to another NFC Championship game. Hopefully, we're on the other end of this one, and we try to make our Super Bowl run. I mean,
all right, let's go through some of these
That's where we're at.
let's go through some of these projections that Nate Davis has, because I want to get your opinion. We're gonna rifle through some of these, but he has your Colts finishing first in the AFC South. I know that's your second team, which is.
I mean, that's gonna be tough with the emergence of the Texans, but
Right.
it depends on if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy. I mean, that's to be determined.
What do you think he has the Texans at?
10-7.
He has the Jaguars at 10-7. He has the Texans at 9-8.
No way. There's no way.
No. He has the Eagles at 10-7.
Okay.
He has the Cowboys at 8-9.
No, hell no.
Dolphins at 8-9.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. He's got every team in the AFC North being over 500.
Does this guy just like drink a fifth of booze before he wrote this, or what?
I don't know. He has a Chargers beating 9-8 too. He has
with what receiver core?
He has the Bengals 11-6, Browns 10-7, 10-7 Ravens.
Cornelius Johnson, baby, it's your time to shine.
My God, it's like I just don't. These projections are so ass. Like he got the Vikings at 5-12, which okay maybe. 9-8 for the Bears, 8-9 for the
maybe
8-9 for the Bucs, the Saints. His last place teams are just. Everyone knows the Giants, the Panthers, the Seahawks, the Patriots, the Titans, and the Broncos. Okay, we all agree with those ones. So
yeah,
that's where he got it right. So that's what it is. So we're gonna move on. We got one or two more segments that we're gonna get to, but yeah, it's that I just wanted to get that off my chest because I thought that was just ridiculous.
I mean, it just sounds like, honestly, man, it just sounds like he's just throwing numbers on a dartboard, or he's just throwing shit on paper and seeing what, maybe he's trying to get a little wow factor. Maybe he's trying to get a little bit of shock value.
All right, so let's get to the article that Jeff Risdon has. If you want to go through we'll rifle through it, and then if you want his opinions, we'll go with his opinions, or we'll go with ours. Jeff Risdon does a damn good job with Lions Wire. But this is what he has. He has something that you said, number 4, number 5 wide receivers. He has interior offensive line depth. He has something I said, edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. He has return specialist, kicker, running back depth, number 3 tight end, and potentially number 4 tight end, long snapper, interior D-line depth, and outside cornerback depth. Now, what do you want to start with and with you?
I mean, I kind of argue that the number 2 tight end and number 3 tight end are going to be more important. I mean, I think we need a guy, someone really solid to be able to solidify. I know James Mitchell's kind of in that backup role for right now, and Brock Wright, but I mean, I think that 2 and 3 battle to give kind of a break, for Sam Laporta is more important than 3 and 4. But I do agree that it's a position to look at.
Well, I look at Brock Wright as the number 2 tight end. I think that his ability to block is crucial. But I look at those 3 and 4 spot and I go, okay, who is gonna emerge from there? You got You got Shane Zylstra, who obviously has a connection with Jared Goff. James Mitchell, who we all had hope in. Obviously, Sean McEwen from Michigan. He's going to be kind of like a depth guy. Parker Hesse from Iowa, who has floated around the NFL for a while. He ain't no Sam Laporta. He's no Brock Wright.
We still got Derek Deese or no?
No.
Okay.
So these are the tight ends right here. Just Parker.
I mean, no doubter. The top four are the top four.
Yeah.
But I doubt we carry 4 tight ends into the season.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I guess with that being said, I guess I do agree on that instance, because either one of Zylstra or James Mitchell will be off the team most likely. So I do see when I look at it in that term, when I do look at it in that way, it makes more sense. So yeah, no, I agree with that more now that I think about it. So.
And there's something that we both looked at for number 4 and number 5 wide receivers. You brought this up, and I thought this is a good chance to bring it up. So at the wide receiver position, you got a bunch of guys. I think they will keep 4 guys. I think they'll keep 4 guys.
Bro,
I don't know.
Wish Tom Kennedy would go away. This dude is like on the fan favorite fandom, random ass roster bubble. Everyone loves him for 3 weeks, goes away, comes back. He's like a pimple that you can't get rid of, man. Like this guy, just go away, Tom Kennedy.
5, 6. It's like if you look at 5 and okay, I think they're gonna keep 5 or 6 wide receivers. So you look at 4.
How many more years we get to see Tom Kennedy?
Well, I don't think. Okay, so we look at these 4. We look at wide receivers. Who's certain to be on the roster?
I mean, guaranteed.
St. Brown, Jamison,
Amon-Ra, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Khalif Raymond, J-Mo. Guaranteed.
Okay, I would go with something different. I go St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, J-Mo, and then the rest is up for debate.
Fair enough. I mean, I personally think DPJ has got to be close to a guarantee at this point, but it's close.
Well, the only reason I say, okay, so he brings us up in the 4 and 5 wide receivers. He says Detroit seems content with their top threesome of St. Brown, Jamison, and Khalif Raymond, because Raymond, obviously, he has the ability with the punt returns. There is a school of thought that Raymond might belong in the group and below, but it's clear in mini camps and OTAs that the team envisions him and trusts him in the number 3 wide receiver role until proven otherwise. He brings up the depth wideouts aren't apt to catch a significant amount of passes, barring injury, of course. That means the decision on these who earns roles will be made on sub-package options and special teams. The later gives Isaiah Williams, who is from Illinois, who had an amazing yak record, is undrafted from rookie from Illinois, a legit shot, while the former could be an edge for a bigger target like Peoples-Jones or Green, who is hoping to show more in his second season. I think you brought up Antoine Green and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think if we're going to see anything this year, this is who we got to see. We all know what we're going to get out of Jameson Williams. We know what we're going to get out of St. Brown. We know what we're going to get out of Khalif Raymond. I want to see who emerges from that wide receiver group, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, obviously, I think, we're most likely keeping 5 receivers, right?
Yeah, 6, 5, 6.
5 to 6. So, I mean, and that does give you some room, because say you really like a guy like Isaiah Wynn, or did I say that right?
Yeah.
Isaiah Wynn, or you have a guy like Williams. I'm sorry, Isaiah Wynn. He's another guy. You have him, or you have, someone that really emerges, and you want to keep an extra guy. Maybe you do cut back on, one of your, linemen, or you cut back on one of your special teamers, or whatever. You need corners, something you can cut back from to make an extra room for an extra receiver. But it's like there's that, like DPJ. Antoine Green are both very similar in the fact that they have NFL bodies. They are intriguing. They're young. The only thing DPJ has over Antoine Green, per se, because they're a pretty similar player, is that DPJ has that NFL experience, but he's still young enough to have that potential.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting. I just don't. In my mind, I just don't love the idea of Khalif Raymond being your number 3 receiver that's lining up on the outside. I just don't like that. I mean, gadget plays, deep plays, end arounds, pitches, like how he was utilized last year, fine. But I want JMO to slip into what Josh Reynolds was, and I want Josh Reynolds to be replaced by a big body or big-ish body X, which is either Antoine Green, DPJ, or one of the camp bodies that are anywhere from 6'2" to 6'4".
So I think what you're missing about Cleve Raymond is he had the best yards per yards reception, not really yards per reception, separation. So he's pretty good at separating from the pack. Would I put him in the slot? Yes. Would I put him on the outside? No. I think Jamison Williams and St. Brown will be predominantly on the outside.
I just feel like we need a guy with an X receiver body. Like I like. To me,
That's where-
JMO,
that's-
Amon Ra, and Khalif as your three, it's like there's not a lot of go get it contested.
and that's where your two people that you said that you're looking for is Green and Pablos Jones. They need to play. They need to show out in training camp. I think this is one of the biggest X factors. And I give you credit because you gave it first, and obviously I was in lockstep with you. But if Green or Pablos Jones can separate themselves from the other guys, and
who do you like more out of those two? Like just those two?
I loved Antoine Green in college. I did. But man, DPJ, like I've watched him in the pros. I thought he got a raw deal in Cleveland.
Right.
I know he had a shitty quarterback at Michigan, Shea Patterson, who was absolute dog shit. And any Michigan fan can totally attest to this. Shea Patterson had Nico Collins and DPJ and still got nothing done. Imagine that. He had a great year with Cleveland, and then he kind of fell off the map. I don't know why. It's still shocking to me, but I do like DPJ. So if I had to choose, I go DPJ over Green. But I do like Green too. I think Green could stay on the roster. The issue is you're at a roster crunch now. This is what I'm saying. Like, and I made the case. With my guys when we were talking about our guys that potentially could be X factors in preseason. Like, look at a guy like Traquan Smith. Like, that's a guy who Dan Campbell knows from New Orleans. He had some pretty productive seasons in New Orleans. He's a bigger wide receiver, not like your stereotypical X wide receiver, but he could do what he could do. And then you got Maurice Alexander, who's a returner. So there's a lot of ways they can go with this. I'm pretty sure they can go many different ways. Isaiah Williams could make the roster too, so that's going to be interesting. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens with this wide receiver group. I think we're both in lockstep with there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at Isaiah Williams. It's like 5'10". It's like you just don't want to run a bunch of 5'10", 5'11" guys out there and kind of seriously. I wish. Like, I feel like DJ Chark was perfect for this offense if he could stay healthy and if he wasn't like I said, either A, made a glass, or B, thinking he could go get a generational bag at Carolina, which he literally got like the same amount of money we offered him, whatever.
Which was so stupid. It was so stupid.
A 6'4" contested, fast, like DJ Chark. The idea of DJ Chark or someone similar to that fits so perfect in this offense. It's like kind of why low key I was hoping. That I love that we got Terrion Arnold. I did not think we were gonna have a chance at Terrion Arnold. That's why a part of me was like, man, if we get to the low 20s or mid 20s and a guy like Brian Thomas is there as our true X, I wasn't totally upset with it. Or Keon Coleman or someone that can truly go up and get
Xavier Leggett, someone like that, something like that.
Mitchell, so I just think that man, it's kind of like the missing spot, but we got a couple guys that could potentially fill that role, and there's always a chance for the future. And the way Ben Johnson runs it, Sam Laporte is kind of that big target anyways.
Yep. So. And you got to think about Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get more pass receptions this year. And honestly, if we're being totally honest with each other, I think this wide receiver group really suits Jared Goff well, because the one thing that Jared Goff does do really, really well is he has good ball placement. And these are wide receivers that can really separate themselves from the pack. So if we're talking about, how key this is, let's just look at that. And that's going to be crucial, but it's going to be interesting. Is there another one that you were looking at? Like I personally, obviously we mentioned the edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. We mentioned that before. Is there anyone else on the list that you're kind of interested in watching?
Not, obviously the inside, that interior line, with us going between last year of having a group of the Aquara brothers, Charles Harris, Levi Onzawerki,
Yeah.
I mean, that group stunk. So like the fact that, I mean, our defensive line group as a whole should have an opportunity to get better. I really think Matthew Betts from British Columbia is gonna be, like, could be that random surprise X factor on the other edge, but it's just totally unknown. Like, I love the idea of it. It's a low risk, high reward. I seen the tape on the guy. The guy flies in the backfield like a demon. He's athletic, he's strong, he's tall, he's fast. Like, he has the traits. But as we know, different leagues, there's nothing that can match up to the NFL.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. But
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. So, we're gonna end the podcast with this couple news and notes, and then I got a question for you, Tyler, that I think that you're gonna love because you kind of mentioned it earlier in the podcast, but I don't think you really knew that this was part of the plan because I didn't tell you it was part of the plan. But obviously, 80. Sam Laporta made his debut on the NFL Top 100 at number 80. I think that's pretty good for a second-year player to make the top 100. Kittle told Laporta in that video, he said, "Oh man, you're next. Like, you're the next one. Like, that's cool." So I don't think we have any arguments about Sam Laporta being a guy that like like we don't have any arguments there.
oh, he's the man. I thought he potentially could even be slightly higher in that list. But I understand there's a lot of position groups. There's a lot of players in that. For him to be in the top 80, especially as as a rookie, coming into his second year, I mean, that's huge. And I think that for all the people that had any doubts about us grabbing him in the second round and ditching
You remember?
Hawkinson,
You remember
let's
that? Do you remember that podcast when people were telling us that that those picks were so like, why did we get Sam Laporta? Why did we pick Jack Campbell? Why did we pick Jahmyr Gibbs? Just that's why.
And like we always said, dude, you know how many mock drafts we both had that we had those players, but at different slots
In the second round, yeah.
Yeah, if you would have just literally flipped like the draft like 1 through 4 and put them in different areas.
If you would have flipped, I think you had this draft, or I think I had this draft. One of us had this draft. It was Brian Branch where Jack Campbell was drafted, and it was Jack Campbell where Brian Branch was drafted. I think if that was the case, no one would be like,
well, I think
what the hell?
I think me and you also had a couple where we had like Gibbs, Campbell, and Laporta, but in like with pick like 24, 32, and 40 or 52 or something, or 48 or whatever. And so like it's just this funny because you flip those around. So many people had a first round grade on Hendon Hooker. If you would have just changed the numbers on that generational draft, but at the time it was, what the hell are you doing, man? Looking back on it, I mean, what a brilliant draft class that really was. That was the draft class that really put us over the top. That was awesome, man.
So yeah, that was a great draft, and I think that we really hit on both of those picks, and it was just great to see.
I got real something quick before you. I know we're wrapping up, but I didn't know. I'm not gonna lie. I follow college ball to a certain degree. I follow all the draft prospects, not as much as you. I was a little surprised by the Ennis Rakestraw pick. I mean, but I mean, I the more I see out of them, the more I like. I mean, is that something that you were pretty happy with on draft night? Like,
Rakestraw is someone that is a Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn type player.
you watch a lot of college ball.
If you watch Missouri, like you do, go flip on the tape. First of all, they are a fun team to watch. If you can go flip on some Missouri games, you'll be very, very delighted to watch them. They got Luther Bolden, who's a hell of a wide receiver. They got a fourth-year quarterback who's good. They had a kicker who would just like it was money, and then Rakestraw was their cornerback, he was just a dog. Like he would literally make plays, and he wasn't perfect, obviously being drafted in the second round, but the athleticism was there. Like he covered some of the toughest wide receivers in college football because the SEC is so tough. Like Ricky Purcell and I think at one point in his career he was with Brian Thomas and things like that. So Rakestraw was fun. That was the one that I was like, I was surprised they double dipped it at cornerback position, but I wasn't mad that they got Rakestraw because I watched Rakestraw at Missouri, and I go, all right, I kind of like it because first of all, the thing you got to know about Rakestraw is simply this: he is a total DB on game day. He's a total pain in the ass. No one wants to deal with him. I think he got. There was one game I was watching. I think it was against South Carolina where they have Xavier Leggett, and Leggett got 2 penalties because of Anders Rakestraw talking that mad John, kind of like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was supposed to do, but he backed it up, and that's what I like to see, out of a cornerback. But yeah, I love that one, man.
Good. I mean, and that's good. I love hearing that, and I'm really excited about this cornerback core. And also one thing I want to put to rest with some of these fans. I've been seeing some stuff. So we moderate a lot of like Lions groups. Joe and I, we have a few pages, and we
join the group One Pride Nation. You'll be fine.
We'll be quite involved with that. And saw somebody making a big argument the other day that like, oh, Terry and Arnold's like, we have the slowest secondary in the league. Terry and Arnold ran a 4.56 or 4.52. I want to clear this up for something. If any of you didn't hear or didn't know, this dude ran his 40 on a bum ass hamstring.
Yep.
And you're potentially seeing a guy who probably could have ran in the low 4.4s, maybe the high 4.3s, but most likely the low 4.4s, 4.42, 4.43. So just, put that to rest. These guys don't have any speed issues. Like you're just talking about Ennis Rakestraw, and like I'm talking about with Terry and Arnold. If you flip on the tape and watch these guys, they play way faster than any sort of 40 times. So don't let that. If you've been seeing a lot of that lately, and you've been seeing a lot of these speed things, a lot of people, they think real football is like Madden, and all that matters is 40-yard dashes. These dudes play with plenty of speed, and I don't think that it's gonna be a problem at all. So I just had to put that in there, a little tidbit that if you've been seeing this crap going around, these guys are farthest from slow. Like this is not a tease Tabor situation. We've got some guys that got speed on the cornerback.
Okay, what I could say about Terry and Arnold. People look at 40-yard dash. I don't even. When I went to scouting school, because I went to scouting school, Bill Polian was the teacher. There was a GM that was light. He's the GM of the Buccaneers now. One of the things that they said that I just take into fruition every time I talk about the draft and 40-yard dashes is if you look at the bust rate of people who were good at 40-yard dashes and who are bad at 40-yard dashes, you find out that there's not really a correlation if they're going to be a good player or not. A lot of times when people make excuses on, they go, okay, like the Tease Tabor, we saw that he was slow at Florida. Like right. We saw he was
His
slow
game tape was slow.
Right. We saw that, Iffy's brother, Obi, gets drafted by the Raiders, ran the fastest 40 for a cornerback. The issue was he over pursued on a lot of pass defenses, and he played himself out of the league. And that's something that Melifonwu, he had to kind of watch out for because he's fast too. So what I'm saying is, yes, you want your cornerback to be fast. Me and Walt talk about this all the time. Like Walt, this is a big emphasis on him. He likes the fast cornerbacks. He thinks that matters. I don't. Like I just don't. Yeah, you got your outliers, like
Bro, if I'm not mistaken, bro, I think Pat Surtain, I think he ran a 4.52, and most people wouldn't say that's blazing. And he's arguably the best corner in the league.
Well, Pat Surtain was a different breed because you watched him at where I forget what school. Didn't he go to South Carolina? I believe so. He went to South Carolina, but I think so.
He went.
Where did he go?
PS2. He went to Alabama. It says.
Oh, he went to Alabama. Who am I thinking? Oh, J.C. Horn. That was J.C. Horn.
Yeah, J.C. Horn. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, when Surtain was at Alabama, you saw what you were going to see. When you saw Terry and Arnold, you saw that he was a good player. Right. So I look at those guys and I go, okay, right there, you know what you're getting. You've seen them play the best of the best in the SEC. It's not like they're coming from the Pac-12 or, whatever hell conference you want. They're playing the best of the best. So I look at Terry and Arnold and I go, that's a guy that is going to be fine. And especially in this defense, I think he'll be fine too. I think this defense is kind of meant for him. And Nick Saban uttered the same thing on draft day where he said, this is a good defense for Terry on to go to because this is kind of like a fit with him and it's a fit for Detroit too.
Yeah, and just to wrap this into what we've been talking about is just keep an eye on this cornerback position throughout the preseason, see how they are able to get comfortable and develop, and hopefully we take a big step up this year in the production and the development in our cornerback room, man. I mean, dude, even when we were doing great with the 2014 Lions, like you always like to talk about, who is our slot corner?
Cam Sutton.
No, I'm talking about our 2014 team, the dude you always like to rag on.
Oh, Cassius Vaughn. Oh, I hated that. Oh my god.
So as a whole, we have a chance to actually elevate our entire CB room to a position group where is actually like is good, man. Like we've had elite corners, but have we ever really had a great CB room?
I remember in that 2014 game, Cassius Vaughn getting ripped a new ass by Terrence Williams. I remember that to a T. Tony Romo was going all to him. And then Dez caught that stupid pass that wasn't really a catch or whatever, or the pass interference that was called back, the Anthony Hitchens play. Mm-hmm. Like that game was just total dumb. But the main part of it was Cassius Vaughn being a total invalid and not being able to cover Terrence Williams. Like Terrence Williams out of the slot was like Romo was going to him all the time. And that's what you talk about when you talk about these battles that you don't really think about, right? You don't think about slot corners as like a huge need, but they're a need.
You can have your Darius Slay, but if you're rolling them out with Nevin Lawson and Cassius Vaughn, like is your CB room that great?
Nevin Lawson was all right. Cassius Vaughn was total ass, and I will go to the grave saying that. I keep saying it. You brought it back, man.
But let's just, man, I really hope that this is the turn that this CB room needs for us to take that next step. And I'm very happy that, Brad Holmes, he seems to have a short leash on some of these guys. I mean, dude, the Steelers look stupid bringing Cam Sutton back.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing, but I don't doubt Mike Tomlin anymore. That guy's so good. I just don't even understand.
All right. And if I got to watch Kendall Vildor take another ball to the freaking face, dude.
Don't get me started. All right. So let me get to this last one. Well, no, I got another one, but obviously if you're going to training camp, you'll get the new massive upgrades to the Meyer Performance Center, which that's what they call Allen Park now. They got covered bleachers, a double decker for VIP, which that's pretty cool.
See, look what happens when you win. You get cool things.
Imagine that. You get cool things when you win. I just don't even know. But here's where we're going to have a little bit of a fun time, just to close out the podcast, because we're going to close out the podcast pretty soon, but I wanted this guy, Tyler was like, this guy, Hassan Reddick. I don't know why people keep saying that we should trade for him. So I kind of know.
Is this my surprise?
I kind of know where he's going. But if you have to trade for one player.
Oh, shit, no way. No wonder you said we'll talk about it later. That's hilarious.
If you have to trade for one player, who are you trading for? Judon or Reddick?
Judon for me.
Okay, that's where I go too.
Yeah, I mean, he's, he went to Grand Valley.
West Bloomfield High School.
Bloomfield High School. He's a Michigan guy. I think there's still some left in the tank. I saw somewhere the other day that somebody said if you were to be able to give him a 2-year for $32 million, 26 million guaranteed, would you do it? I'm like, absolutely. For 2 years, right. Absolutely.
No, for sure.
Take advantage of that window. I think that guy's still got some left in the tank. And I think now having Judon here 5-6 years ago, no. I mean, because we were trying to get all these Patriots players and do this all the right way, right? It just was blowing up in our face. But we're a different Lions team. We're a different coaching staff. I think he would appreciate to come here, and he wants, I'm sure, to play for a contender. And I think that we could get some extra out of him. I like that fit. The antics Hassan Reddick is already kind of doing with his stuff. It's just like, man, I don't need none of that. I'm good.
It was funny because I was like, this is a surprise, and then you brought it up, and I was like, damn, man, this is
right. You're like, dude, out of all the things you could bring up, why the hell are you bringing up Hassan Reddick?
I know. It was like I was like, God dang it, there goes my surprise. I kind of know where he's gonna go, but yeah, I would go with Judon too. I think Judon's like more of a guy that would be a culture fit, and I think Hassan Reddick is kind of like a me guy. So I really don't think he would fit in here. Although both of them are nice, and I just gotta say this too. I hate Hassan Reddick's helmet. I effing hate it. I think it's stupid as hell. He looks like a space cowboy, and it's just horrible.
I have a surprise for you now.
Oh boy,
Matthew Judon or Trey Hendrickson? Keep cost in mind here. I think you probably get Judon a little bit cheaper.
I would go Matthew Judon. Just because he's a guy from here, he'd be more willing to, kind of.
And I think you get him at a little better deal. financially.
Exactly. And I do like Trey Hendrickson, but I think he's looking for a new deal. And
Big money.
I ain't about that action, boss. We got to pay a Hutch. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Get ready for your new 5-year, $150 million defensive end.
especially when he balls out this year, you're gonna be like, we got a problem here.
Yep.
All right, it's been a great podcast, Tyler. You're back in the fold. We're gonna get to more podcasts. We'll have a podcast every week. It might be on Wednesdays, it might be on Thursdays, it might be on Tuesdays, it might be on Mondays, it might be on Sundays. But we're gonna do it usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So that's where we're gonna try to do it. But thank you for listening. And obviously, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, rate, review. You can watch this podcast at JC Sports, so it'll be on JC Sports probably within, I don't know, whenever we post a podcast, and then there you go. That's what it's going to be. So anything
Yeah,
left to say, Tyler?
and I got a new little setup, man. Y'all guys, I got a little setup. I got me a new Mac and a new recording mic. So we're gonna get a new pod area set all up, man. So we're gonna be able to edit some more stuff and be able to make some more videos. Be able to really rock out these pods for you this year. Me and Joe and I and the crew, man, we're ready to take us to the next level. And we appreciate all you guys and your follows and your listens and your reviews and your shares. It means a ton, and I think this year is going to be our year, man, where we really take this to new heights. We're planning on really skyrocketing into the next stratosphere, so I'm looking forward to it, man.
Oh, and I want to tell people that our goal is to hit 100 podcasts by the end of September. This is episode 75. I think we can get to 25 podcasts within whatever, because the grand opening of the Three Kings will be in the end of September. So we're gonna have like a live podcast, whatever the case may be. We'll have Tyler zoom in or whatever the hell it's gonna do. But it's gonna be fun.
Man, you never know, man. I could take me a trip down to Three Kings and
that's what
we'll
I'm
do
saying.
a live pod.
And we might have a surprise for you guys with another person coming on. So we'll kind of keep that hum for now. But there's a good chance that we could have another person that's gonna like basically school me and Tyler over here. And
hey, listen, we're not gonna let them school us too much. We'll probably, hopefully, weekly appearances. I don't know if I can let them school me every day of the week.
I just want to take the Paul Bichonette role of the podcast, just be a total goofball. So that's my goal. All right, Tyler, it was good. It was a good podcast. Obviously we had some issues. But Weather is undefeated with us so far. Between me getting the no power one time, and you had to take the show on for a little bit, and you had no power. So we are even now. So let's hopefully go for no
no more car pods, man. I hope that my setup's all complete, and we I'm gonna buy me a damn generator, so I make sure if I do lose power, I can get back to Lions football.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next podcast as we talk more Detroit Lions football. Obviously, but training camp, we're gonna be talking about some of the training camps, the stuff that's coming down. So stay tuned for more. Go to Detroit Lions News podcast. Follow the links wherever you get your podcasts, and like and follow the page on Facebook, Instagram. So we'll be good. Yeah, that's about it. So,
all right, guys, peace.
All right, we'll see you guys.